Oh my god. I know everybody's been enjoying the whole Sylvie hater trilogy and everything. I mean, with this right here, it's basically a trilogy. And seeing that I'm referring to it as such, I think you already know what it is. This will be the last video addressing these butthurt man-children in regards to Sylvie's inclusion in KOF 15. The only reason I'm making this is because, in typical fashion, you got people taking me out of context, and on top of that, putting forth some really bad counter arguments, which I'm gonna debunk that too. First of all, usage of these polls. I am not the one who originally introduced these polls into this conversation. These are two of the most commonly cited polls by Sylvie detractors to prove that she is unpopular. Anyone that's watched my prediction series leading up to the release of KOF 15 knows, yeah, I cited polls when I made my decisions and my guesses, but you want to know what else I cited? Storyline stuff. I cited character team patterns as well. These are all different things that will determine whether a character gets on a roster, not just popularity, alright? If you want to call out someone for using these polls in this conversation, call out the detractors, not me. Let me also put this out here. If you're somebody that's consistent with all this stuff, I have no issue with you either. If you kept that same energy for any other characters that were just as unpopular, then step aside. I have no issue with you. But all these people saying stuff like, oh, I don't like Sylvie because she's such a freaking goofy character and she's not serious. Give us Lucky from the US sports team. Then I can't respect you because really it's a dude that's throwing basketballs in a fight. It is a dude throwing basketballs in a fight.
What?
So all in all, that was the original context and reasoning for using those polls. I made this explicitly clear with the first one. So this KOF 14 poll that was conducted by Crispy Kaiser towards the tail end of KOF 14's run has been making the rounds by certain people trying to sit there and say, oh, look at this poll right here. Sylvie has low popularity and SNK is not listening to the fans. They need to look at this poll and understand how to listen to the fans. Now, to give myself a demerit, I did not make that clear when it came to the Power Geyser poll. So I'll take the L on that. But speaking of the Power Geyser poll, this new talking point is hilarious. So now several people have been copying this idea and think that it's a gotcha of some sort by saying, okay, take the Power Geyser poll, now take all 54 characters that were on the KOF 15 main roster and put them above Sylvie because realistically, they're more popular than she is, and oh my god, Sylvie ranks in the 70s. That's not good. Honestly, man, can't y'all just say you don't like Sylvie and move on? Because if you only knew how ridiculous this take is, you wouldn't have said it. So let's have some fun with this, shall we? Here is an image of all of the current KOF 15 characters, including Sylvie. And they said, take all 54 characters that came before her and put them above her in the Power Geyser poll. Here are the 4 images of the Power Geyser poll. I invite you to figure out what is the blatant inconsistency with this particular scenario. Whether you pause to read or just let this flow, I'll give you a minute. Welcome back! Did you figure it out? Did you figure out that there was more than one thing wrong with this scenario? Let's talk about it. One issue with this scenario is the fact that you're gonna have duplicate characters in this poll. I actually showed this image in the previous video, because you see that Kim, Shingo, and Rugal were in the top 5, and after this poll had been made, they made it into KOF 15. The magical number here is 54. So you're basically counting Kim, Shingo, and Rugal twice and putting them above Sylvie. How the hell is that objective or even remotely consistent or logical? And what's even funnier is that this wouldn't even be the only instance of duplicate characters on this theoretical popularity poll that these numbnuts have spawned with this ridiculous take. Little did they know, Sylvie even outperformed Nakaruru in the same exact poll. On a little bit of a side note, it was a curious decision that they had a Samurai Showdown character option rather than just putting them all out there, because I'm pretty sure Haomaru would have at least made it somewhere in this poll. However, as a side note, there is a Metal Slug character option collectively that ranked at number 15, which, yeah, they beat Sylvie in this poll. Which I'm pretty sure her haters are not going to complain about, but they'll probably call out the fact that there is a Samurai Showdown character option. So not only would you be padding this theoretical real popularity poll of yours with more duplicate characters, but on top of that, you would be putting characters that ranked below Sylvie in this poll above her as well. You can shoehorn all the buzzwords you want to: objective, realistic, deserving, undeserving. If you can't craft a consistent argument, nobody gives a damn. Me, Chris Lotus, may not like every character on a roster, but you will never hear me say something like, that character has an undeserving spot on the roster. What the hell does a character have to do or be to deserve to have a spot on a roster? Popularity? First of all, popularity polls, as someone else put it, can only tell you so much information. The context is not fully there because what are they basing this on? Just people voting or whatnot? How many times have you heard somebody talk about, you all voted so much to get this character in this game and yet nobody's playing them? Popularity polls are not talking about play rate. Sometimes the most popular characters in franchises don't get a lot of actual play because they're not meta, they're not strong. Players might not like the game itself. Some players might not like how that character plays in that game. Popularity polls don't account for that. This is why solely basing, I guess, the validity of a character deserving a spot on a roster based on polls is an incredibly fallacious thing to do in the first place. Again, going back to my prediction series leading up to KOF 15, yes, I did mention popularity polls, but I also mentioned stuff about the storyline. Looking at characters that have always teamed up, looking at the compositions over the many years of KOF. There's a bunch of stuff to consider there. This is why whenever I poke fun at Maxima or Gongil, I just tell you why I don't like them. I'm not gonna go into some pseudo-intellectual spiel about why SNK made a mistake putting them in the game. Like, just be straight up and just say you don't like something and move on. Save your energy, man. Cause at the end of the day, even though we trim the fat off of this whole put all the characters from KOF 15 in the Power Geyser poll idea, even if we tried our utmost to make it as logically sound as we could, we are still not gonna bullseye what the actual truth is. My whole point here is the fact that using polls for this type of stuff, it's fallacious. It means next to nothing and it's basically all hype. The same way that you, the people that don't like Sylvie or don't like this DLC character, are not legally obligated to buy that DLC, SNK and all these other companies are not legally obligated to surrender 100% of their creative control to us, the fans, to where we decide every single character that gets put in a game. While that might sound cool, I'm pretty sure some of you probably are horrified by the idea of just having the roster 100% picked by the fans. Also, I want to ask one thing because I know you all are on social media like that. I hate social media for the most part. Is the Sylvie hate more Western fanboy whining? Like the same thing with Shune because people over here don't know what Fei Juliu is, so oh, he sucks. Is it the same thing with Sylvie? Because if that's the case, let me talk to the whiny Western fanboys right quick. Could you stop acting like every modicum of a fighting game needs to tailor to just your market? SNK is selling this game to us and everywhere else where the game is available. Thus, the market is very diverse, so thus you're going to see some things that are probably going to raise an eyebrow or two. Now, when it comes to these people who are very unfamiliar about different cultures and stuff that you might see that influences character designs and everything, I always say this to people who always explain to these folks. You can explain the reference to something or the inspiration behind something, that doesn't automatically mean that that person has to like it. You explain it, you put it there, and it's on that person to take it or leave it. With that being said, on the other hand, again, I'm pretty sure most people don't have an issue with somebody disliking something, but it's a whole nother thing talking about having an undeserving spot. Because again, what are the requirements for a character to deserve a spot on a fighting game roster? Last time I checked, there's no rule book on this, there's no laws on this, there's not even a standard when it comes to this. So anything that you might say is just an opinion, nothing more, nothing less. Once again, stop trying to make your opinions more important than they actually are. In my opinion, Guilty Gear Strive is still a boring game after I've played 1500 matches and it felt like the whole entire flow of the game was just the same. Does that mean the game is literally boring? Does that mean my opinion is law? No. Can someone else still enjoy the game? Yes. It's not the end of the world because everyone else is enjoying something that you don't like. Also, again, just say you don't like Sylvie and move on. Stop with this pseudo-intellectual, acrobatic, contortionist word salad BS that amounts to nothing in the end and just boils down to being, once again, just your opinion. And with that, sorry for y'all that have been enjoying it, but the Sylvie trilogy is over. If people are gonna be mad about Sylvie, all I gotta say is, get mad, be mad, stay mad. It is what it is. Roll the outro. I'm out of here.